Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.
So when a personal stylist starts working with their client, the first thing that they do is figuring out their body type. It is the most important first step because once you figure out how to dress for your body type, you will always look good. I guarantee that, no matter what size, no matter what body type you are. There are 5 main body types. There's hourglass, rectangle, pear, inverted triangle, and apple. So we're gonna go over a little bit of each of them, some tips and tricks for a couple of them, and totally keep in mind it's definitely possible to be a little combination of each or to fluctuate in between two, especially if your weight fluctuates, time of the month, it's totally possible. And there's no shame in that because once you have these tools, you'll be able to adjust for each one. Okay. So first one, hourglass. It's probably one of the most popular known ones. Pretty sure you've heard everyone's like, I'm an hourglass. And you're like, girl, no you're not. Hourglass is basically the most ideal body type, so they say, because it's the most proportionate out of all of them, and it has the curves and the sexiness appeal. It's basically to know if you're an hourglass or not, is your shoulder width and your hip width should be really close in measurement, and then your waist, which is the smallest part of your body, should be dramatically smaller. If you're really proportionate and the measurements of your shoulders and hips don't get too far from each other, then you're pretty much an hourglass. Keep in mind though, a lot of pairs think they're hourglass, and I'll go over in pair in just a second, but remember, shoulders, hips, same. So rectangle is pretty close to an hourglass. You'll see a lot of like athletic body types or models like on the runways have this body type. It's basically where your body is a lot more linear. Shoulders, waist, and hips are really close in measurements. Thinking just straight up and down types of bodies. You don't have to be a stick though to be a rectangle. You can definitely be like a size 10, 12, no matter what, and be a rectangle. It's basically just thinking your measurements here, here, and here are linear and really super close to each other. Okay, so a pear body type, which I mentioned earlier is really close to or people think they're hourglass, but they possibly could be a pear, is basically when your hips are the largest part of your body. Definitely a lot larger in measurement from your shoulders and your waist. Just because you're a pear doesn't mean like you have like the hugest hips or butt or whatever or thighs. Even if it's just like slightly larger than your shoulders or your waist, you're still technically a pear, and it's totally okay because that's curves and that's sexy. You'll see like Kylie Jenner, Kim K, they fluctuate in between like an hourglass and a pear sometimes, but they definitely have a lot more oomph in this area. One of the best tricks I like to tell my clients for pear shapes, because I fluctuate in between like a pear and an hourglass sometimes too, is making sure you're wearing slimmer bottoms that don't draw too much attention to the hips, being really careful about not wearing too much baggy clothes right there. People think that if you wear baggy clothes, it's gonna hide that. It actually adds more visual volume to that area. So just kind of wearing more like linear clothing here, and then playing up the necklines so it adds that visual balance. That's a tip and trick right there. So inverted triangle is kind of like the complete opposite of a pear, where your shoulders or your top area, your gals, are wider in measurement than the rest of your body. So if you carry a lot of your width up here, whether it's your shoulders or your gals, and then your waist and your hips are significantly smaller, that's an inverted triangle. Tip and trick for my gals who are inverted triangle, sorry. Basically, staying away from complicated necklines or wide necklines like boat necks or off the shoulder, because it can make you look wider. And definitely playing with more volume on the hips, like A-line skirts or pants that have some pleating on it. That definitely can help balance things out as well. So my apple gals, basically how to know if you're an apple is if your stomach area or your waist area is like the widest or pretty wide in comparison to the rest of your body. So like an apple. It's totally possible to look amazing as an apple as well. Empire waists or waistlines, like dresses that have waistlines that kind of cinch like right beneath the bust and above the waist. Those types of outfits or dresses create that hourglass line. A-line skirts also create that hourglass effect. Again, staying away from baggy clothing, because once you start throwing on more visual volume onto this area, the bigger it actually ends up looking. So I actually really suggest more structured type pieces, structured blazers, dresses like sheath dresses with princess cut seams are actually really amazing. Good? So if you guys have any questions at all that I can help with, if you need to try and figure out more of like what kind of body type you are or some tips and tricks to help you style your body type, feel free to comment below. I will try to get to as many as I can for you guys. Thanks for watching and I hope you enjoyed. Bye.